live with Sheikh Alfan Al-Aisri on Let's Connect.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to your Ramadan radio program, Let's Connect. This is your host, Reem Audi, with the Honorable Sheikh Alfan Al-Aisri, taking us on this journey throughout the month of Ramadan. With us also is sound engineer, Zahra Al-Kindi. We're now live in the air. You can call us in at the numbers 24602058. That's 24602058. The other number to call in is 24694315. That's 24694315. Sheikh Alfan, Assalamu alaikum and welcome.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you, Sheikh Alfan?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Every day is a blessing.
It is indeed. And a new day.
And it's a new day.
Alhamdulillah. Yesterday, Sheikh Alfan, we wrapped up our topic on marriage. We spoke more about the elements of what it means to have tranquility, affection, mercy, and support. You've mentioned if a couple reaches a stage when emotions are lost, you can reintroduce them by remembering what are the good qualities you appreciate on that person and go back to the honeymoon phase, rekindle those emotions. You also mentioned that it's important to find peace and love within us in order to be able to give it to others. You've pointed out when arguments happen, it's important to agree on a system to resolve them.
Yes.
You gave an example where a couple might have agreed to do it through a letter, to read it out in a letter, or to discuss in private, or even to go out to a cafe or restaurant in a public space so they can be conscious and avoid raising their voice.
Yes.
And it's important that they are good listeners, to apologize, but put the topic to rest once it's resolved, and try not to repeat the same mistake and to be curious.
Yes.
So that we can resolve arguments. As well, someone called in and said, what if there isn't good communication in my marriage? And you did encourage to get support from a third party that wants to resolve the marriage and bring it back on track.
Yes.
And for those who are finding it difficult to get married, you said don't be scared of marriage. It's a source of bliss. And make sure you're marrying for the good reasons, someone of character, good values, and to complement one another.
Yes.
Yes. And of course, not to take it for granted. It requires our work.
Yes, marriage is a maintenance-intensive relationship and contract.
Yes.
And one has to keep working in it all the time.
Yes. That brings us now today to speak about relations in general.
Yes.
The area of relations. So it can involve from our family, our friends, our colleagues at work, and to our neighbors, our society.
Yeah.
So what do relations provide us in life?
نعم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه. Relations provide us, number one, is companionship. We all need at one time, we need company, one way or the other. As human beings, we are social creatures, and being social creatures, we like to associate with others. That's why one of the most severe punishment is a solitary confinement in prisons. When someone is isolated from other people, usually mentally they get disturbed, and it can lead even to people cracking down. So human beings, we are social creatures and we like to socialize. So we need to establish that relationship. In establishing that relationship, it becomes like a reflection, like a mirror, because we influence each other one way or the other. The Prophet of Islam says, Al-mu'minu mir'atu akhi. A believer is a mirror of his brother. In other words, we tend to reflect when people do right or wrong. The other person who is a very close friend will be there to correct the mistake or to support or to do whatever. So we need that.
So it offers us different perspectives.
Yes. Sometimes we need to bounce ideas to other people so that we gain that confidence that our decisions are complete or are good or accurate or in the right direction. So there are many reasons to benefit from friend. There is a saying in Arabic, it says الرفيق قبل الطريق. A friend before you embark on a road. والجار ثم الدار. And a neighbor, then your home. In other words, you need people around you. support in terms of weaknesses, to share ideas, to have a laugh with, to listen to other stories, to many reasons that people can establish that relationship. But the most important thing in that relationship is that how it influences our own character.
Okay.
For the Prophet of Islam did say, Al-mar'u ala din khalili. A person has a lifestyle based on his best friends. فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدُكُمْ مَنْ يُخَالِلْ. Therefore choose your best friends very carefully. And then there's another saying in Arabic, it says أخبرني عن خليلك وأخبرك من أنت. Tell me who's your best friend and I'll tell you who you are. So with that, I think the most important to realize in relationship is that we get influenced and it shapes our own character, personality and identity. Therefore, if you don't like who you are, change your friends.
Okay.
And in so doing, we always give an exercise to people who are unhappy with who they are. We say, well, the first thing is that go and list 6 people who take your time other than your family and work. In other words, socially. People who socially take your time.
Outside the family.
Outside the family and outside the work.
Okay.
Once you list the names of those 6 people, whether you like it or not, you become the average of those 6 people.
Okay.
In the way you think, in the way you desire, in the way you select which values to subscribe to, in the way you behave, in the way you talk, in the aspirations, goals and ambitions that you have, as well as the fear and anxieties that you have. So if you don't like who you are, you have been influenced by 6 people. That's why they say hanging around with successful people is contagious, because you learn from them and become like, and hanging around with losers, you become one of them. That's why people like to hang around with winners, because they want to be winners. So that is, I think, to my understanding, the importance of relationships socially beyond the immediate family.
Okay. Reminder listeners, the number that you can call in is 24602058, and the other number is 24694315. Now, Sheikh Affan, how come you mentioned for that exercise to look outside our family and work, while some might be focusing on those elements, or they're suffice with family ties?
Well, family ties are very important. Almighty Allah says, فَهَلْ أَسَيْتُمْ إِن تَوَلَّيْتُمْ أَن تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَتُقَطِّعُوا أَرْحَامَكُمْ. Is it that when you establish yourselves on this earth, that you go and spread mischief and you break the family ties? Breaking family ties in Islam is considered to be a big mistake. It is a sin and it has consequences. So establishing family ties is very important, to an extent that if my parents pass away, I am obliged to keep in touch with their best friends and their relatives. So it does not only stop from the immediate family, it goes to the extended family. Part of my will, of my inheritance, I include my extended family. A third of my wealth is usually dedicated to my extended family, other than the immediate family who are eligible to inherit. And that is just to indicate that how family bond extends beyond the immediate family. And that is an obligation. Being an obligation, you cannot get rid of your uncle or your cousin. Yes, you can choose to associate with them a lot or a little, but nevertheless you need to maintain contact. Yes, you may not spend more time with them, but still you have to maintain that contact of either with a phone call or with a casual visit every now and then, and they are part and parcel of your extended family. What you talk about here is the people whom you can choose to have in your life or choose not to have them in your life. Those are the people you're referring to. But the family, the extended family, all of that is an obligation upon a Muslim to make sure that they maintain that ties. And even if it comes to an extent of where support is required to support them with either financially or physically or with time or emotionally, we need to make sure that we are there for them. Because
as a priority.
They are also there for us. Yes, indeed, yeah.
And we have to differentiate, I believe, between breaking ties and sometimes you distance from family problems.
No, family problems is something else. With family problems is that people ought not to intervene and interfere with other people's affair unless they can add value, it can make things better. But if they go there to add fuel to fire, they may just as well keep away. And if they're not qualified to go and mediate between arguing a couple or family, then they ought to distance themselves. That is something else. That is about mediating and supporting, trying to make ends meet, trying to fix problems. That is something else. Only the qualified people can get in there. And the qualified people are the people who are trusted and respected by both parties.
Okay.
So if that person is not in that category, yes, they can distance themselves, or they can quietly try to go and resolve issues and try to close the gap between the two without being visible.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is something else. But if family problems are there, it does not mean that the whole family ought to be sit there and then just become observers and spectators.
It's not a movie.
Intervention is required one way or the other, because this is life. If you're allowed to go and fight and argue, when the ego kicks in, someone needs to go there and try to bring sense to the two. And when they see that a third party is coming in, maybe they will begin to calm down. And some people want somebody to intervene and to interfere. Yeah.
It could be a call of help.
Indeed, yeah.
Yes. Now, Sheikh Affan, what makes some people have better social skills than others?
Yes. In having better social skills, of course, that is one of the intelligence. There are 8 intelligences mentioned by Howard Gardner from the Harvard Business School. And one of them is the interpersonal skills. And there is another one which is called the intrapersonal skill, and that is the understanding self, understanding emotions. So what we talk about when you talk about emotional intelligence is about 2 things. The first part is to understand my own emotions and be able to control my own emotions. And the second part is about understanding other people's emotions and then be able to deal with those emotions, not to change them. Be able to deal with them, be able to relate to them. So it's about relating with others. So I understand when people are angry, and understand when people are sad, and understand people when they are irritated or they're frustrated or they have anxiety or they're saddened, is to be able to understand, have ability to have the signals that we see and interpret those signals correctly. And that is what is known as emotional intelligence. So social skills are the people who are good at reading emotions. And because they're good at reading emotions, they also have that powerful charisma where they can go and positively influence people. So these are the people who are people's people. And they are people's party. And not only that, but they can also break the ice. When there is tension in the room and they happen to be there, they can easily break that tension. They will throw in a joke, or they say something, or they make fun of themselves, whatever it is, and then people become irritated because they understand emotions. So it is a skill that some people are gifted with. It is also a skill that people can go and learn. And usually such people, you tend to know them that, number one, they are never alone. Number 2, they are liked by almost everybody. And number 3, they are good listeners. And number 4, they talk a lot. And
so good listeners and talkative.
Yes. At the same time, they're very cheerful. Very cheerful. It is as if these people are never hurt. It is as if these people never have a low moment. They are always buzzing with life. And because they are buzzing with life, people think that these people are immune from bad feelings or negative feelings or from problems of life. In reality, they have them, but they tend to take them lightly. The other thing that with these people is that they tend to see the brighter side of life. They are more optimistic. To them, they want to enjoy life. They don't allow problems to make them succumb to the worries of life. So such qualities qualify them to have that social skills and to be able to interact with people. And they seem to have solutions to almost every problem. Not because they are geniuses, it's just because they always choose to see the brighter side, and as a result they see opportunities.
A mindset.
Of making things, yes. So they are never dragged into negativity or into that vicious circle of always seeing problems.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll take a quick break and then we'll learn more about how we can develop that.
Inshallah.
with Sheikh Al-Fadl Aisri on Let's Connect.
On the authority of Muawiyah, may Allah be pleased with him, who said, I heard the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, saying, when you pursue the private life of people, you lead them to corruption. Shu'aib al-Aman al-Buhayqi.
I love you, Allah.
with Sheikh Al-Fadl Aisri on Let's Connect.
Welcome back to your Ramadan radio program, Let's Connect. So Sheikh Al-Fan, you mentioned emotional intelligence is the quality that makes people have better social skills.
Yes.
They understand their emotions and the emotions of others. Now, how can we develop that quality?
Yeah. You see, with emotional intelligence, there's also sympathy and empathy. And people also have that quality with them, the people who have good social skills. To develop that, number one is to learn to listen to the signals that stems from within emotions. To go and ask, how do I feel right now?
Okay.
And then write it down. And once you've written down, it says, now that I feel this way, how am I behaving? So it's two questions. How do I feel and how am I behaving? The more you ask that questions, the more you are able to tap into that feeling and translate that feeling into behavior. And then it's going to ask a question, and why am I feeling this way? Yeah. So it is 3 steps. How am I feel? How do I feel right now? And how am I behaving right now? And number 3, and why do I feel this way? What is it that made me feel this way? And with time you come to realize that everything we do in life is based on our emotions. So here's a wonderful formula for people to remember. E plus R is equal to O. Events. E is for events. Plus R, that is reaction, is equal to O, which is the outcome. And one thing I need to realize in life, I do not control events. I do not control the sun rising and setting, nor do I control the temperature, the ambient temperature, or I control with other people.
How they act.
Yes, the only thing I have control of is my reaction. And my reaction has all to do with my feelings. So feelings are powerful. So if I'm able to name and to tag and to categorize every feeling that I have, then that is what is known as emotional intelligence. Because you may see people sitting there with a blank face. Is it because they are sad? Or is it because they are worried? Is it because they have got anxiety? Or is it because they are bitter?
Okay.
With time, when you begin to learn how to translate emotion into facial expressions and body expressions, then with time you can begin to identify quickly. Sometimes it has to do with the tone of voice. Sometimes with women, whatever they say, they mean the opposite. Just to understand, yes, most of the time. For example, a man says to the wife, I'm going out. And before that, he had promised her that he's going to spend the night at home.
Yes.
So he says, I need to go out and do something. Can I go? She says, of course, if you want to go, go.
Diplomatic.
It's not diplomatic. What she says that you are failing. Yeah, you said something, because if she says, well, if you want to go, you go. So if you want, it means that it's up to you. But if it's up to me, I want you to stay.
Okay.
Yeah. So understanding the language as well.
The communication.
The communication part. But that comes with practice.
Okay.
But priority number one is to be able to tap into emotions and register what is the name of that emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an exercise that we do with a lot of people in workshops and others when we talk about emotional intelligence. We ask them to take a piece of paper and write all the negative emotions.
Mm-hmm.
From anxiety to fear to worries to sadness to depression, yeah.
That you feel or in general?
In general, to
Okay.
resentment, to bitterness, and keep on writing all the negative.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you finish with that, we're going to now write positive emotions
Okay.
like joy, happiness, ecstasy, excitement,
Mm-hmm.
and guess what happens? In almost all cases, people register more or they have longer list of negative emotions than they would have with positive emotions.
Interesting. Oh.
And then we ask a question, what does that tell us?
Mm-hmm.
What does that tell us? That people have got a longer vocabulary of negative emotions and
that's
only
positive.
fewer vocabulary of positive emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, whatever you have, the ratio that you have there, that is who you are most of the time, and that is how you practice most of the time.
Okay.
So beware, 80% of the time people have negative emotions. They are easy to activate. And even worse, unfortunately, people have better memories of negative events that were connected to negative emotions.
Why is that?
So they remember what things that went wrong in their lives more than when the things go right.
Mm-hmm.
Taking it further, when people do something wrong, and the question, you ask the question why, and here's the answer. When people do something wrong, how long do they linger and how long do they keep on hammering the same message? Of regret,
Mm-hmm.
of anger, of sorrowfulness because they've done something wrong. And even worse, how many names do they call themselves when they do something wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And how long do they stay in that situation? And on the opposite side of it, when people become successful, they achieve something wonderful, how long do they celebrate?
Mm-hmm.
It's not for how many hours, it's not for how many minutes, it's for how many seconds.
Okay.
In reality, in life, we are more successful than we are failures.
Mm-hmm.
You wake up healthy. It's something to celebrate. How many people celebrate in the morning with excitement? They wake up from bed, jumping out of bed to say, wow,
Yeah.
I'm healthy today. How many people
Very
do
few.
it?
Mm-hmm.
Yet, when they become sick, how do they go about in saying I'm sick?
Oh, they would complain.
Complain,
Yes.
they moan, they groan, and they try to call people, and they try to make other people feel sorry for them, and they make a story out of it. They blow a trumpet. Today I'm not well, and today this, and I cannot breathe, I cannot do that. And they go on and on and on in telling the story of how they feel exactly, etc., etc. And that is the reality of life.
Mm-hmm.
Every day the stories of success we have are too many, but we take them for granted, and we don't label them. We just let them go by.
Mm-hmm.
When our children do something wrong, we are on top of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yet 80% of the time they do something right, and we say nothing. And that is, I think, as human beings, I don't know, what is it? Is it that because we all want to have stories to tell, we all want to complain?
Mm-hmm.
Is it because we don't want to be happy, or is it because we see happiness is an unattainable goal? Something is with human beings that they always like to linger with negativity.
Mm-hmm. The dramas. in
The
life.
dramas of life. Yeah, we don't need. So do not make a drama out of every problem and out of every crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Just learn from it and move on. And that is, I think, the emotionally intelligent people are good at. They realize being dragged in that vicious circle of negativity is harmful, and that's why they always like to shift everyone, including themselves, to the positive life. Not that they don't have problems, they do have more problems than anybody else,
Yes.
but they make a decision not to stay there longer.
So it is starting with the self-awareness of our emotions.
Absolutely.
Understanding them first.
Yes.
And say someone has realized that they're lingering more on the negative. How can that shift happen?
Okay. Let us give a strategy. It's a strategy of 4 steps. We'll call them the 4 A's, the 4 alphas. Excuse me. The first A is the A of awareness, and you mentioned it yourself. Number one is to be aware of emotions and be able to label them. Number two, the second A is the A of acceptance, is to accept. Now this is how I feel most of the time. How do I feel most of the time? I feel this way. Okay, I accept it.
Okay.
I don't need to go and justify it. I don't need to go and try to blame somebody because the way I feel. No, just accept. This is how I feel most of the time.
Okay.
And then number three is the A of adapt and adopt. Adopt and adapt. Is to say now I need to adopt a new feeling. And then I need to adapt to that new feeling. So the next time when something happens to me to irritate me, to frustrate me, this is what I need to do. I need to take a deep breath and buy time and not choose to be sucked into the negative emotions. And with that, there's a beautiful formula that says thoughts that are connected to emotions become magnetized and attract similar thoughts.
So thoughts become emotions and they're
No,
magnetized?
thoughts linked to emotions.
Okay.
When thoughts are linked to emotions, they become magnetized.
Okay.
And then they attract similar thoughts. So if you have a negative thought and then you link it to a negative emotion, it becomes a magnet. And then you begin to see everything else that is wrong.
And your whole day becomes...
Your whole day becomes
your
messed up.
interactions.
Positive thoughts also do the opposite. So positive thought, if you have a positive thought and then you awaken a positive emotion, it becomes a magnet. And suddenly you want to celebrate, you want to have a party, you want to celebrate, to share it with everybody. It becomes a magnet as well.
Okay.
So it's to adopt to the new way of emotions and then to adapt it to it.
Okay.
To make sure that more than once in the same scenario you behave the same way, not only once. So you transform it into a habit. And then the fourth A is the A of achievement. Then you can achieve the results.
Okay.
So it is aware, accept, adapt and adopt, and then it is achieve.
Clarify to us how we can create awareness by
Yes.
just writing down emotions and how we feel and accept it. Now, how is it in practical terms that we can adopt a new feeling that's not in us?
Yes. Before adopting and accepting, you need to say, if it has to be, it is up to me.
If it has to be, it is up to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it's about the formula that we said, events plus reaction is equal to emotion, is that I choose on how I'm going to react.
Okay.
So that is accepting. That is to say, I am responsible for the way I feel, and I am responsible for how I think, and I'm responsible of how I behave. So
Okay.
I am responsible. Everything from outside is happening. In actual fact, 90% of the time are the things that are happening to us, and 10% is how we react. Okay? But the opposite is also true. The way I choose to react is what determines the outcome. In my 10% of reaction, I actually choose my day. My day is good or my day is bad. And the best time to adapt and adopt is before you go to sleep, and the first thing you do when you wake up is to decide what type of emotions you're going to have today.
Okay.
So one of the wonderful things to do with adopt and adapt is this formula. Before you wake up in the morning, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you say, I believe something wonderful is going to happen to me today. I believe something wonderful is going to happen to me today. Before you go to bed, begin to count your blessings. What were the things that you have achieved on that day that made an impact to yourself, to your family, to your friends, to relatives, to society, to mankind, whatever. Be thankful for what you have achieved, and then you make a prayer by saying that, give me another opportunity tomorrow, or Allah, give me another opportunity tomorrow to make it even a better day.
Okay.
And then before you sleep, say, tomorrow, I believe tomorrow something wonderful is going to happen to me today. And as a result, something wonderful is going to happen to you tomorrow, because that is what your expectation. You are setting the expectations. You remember in one of the programs we talked about the values, assumptions, we talked about beliefs and then expectations. So by saying, I believe something wonderful is going to happen to me today, you are setting an expectation. And based on that expectation, you are preparing yourself either for success or failure. So if you say tomorrow is going to be a horrible day, guess what? It's going to be a horrible day. If you say tomorrow is going to be a wonderful day, it's going to be a wonderful day. You decide what day you're going to have. It has nothing to do with the weather, because the weather is the same, and everybody is going through the same weather. We have happy people and sad people. You have rich people and poor people. You have successful people and failed people. 24 hours a day. Everybody has 24 hours a day. Nobody has more hours than anybody else. Oxygen, we're breathing the same oxygen. We all have the same brain. It's how we choose to use it. So Almighty Allah has given everybody an equal opportunity as a point of starting. So the starting point is the same, but the ending point is different based on how we choose
Our choices.
to lead our life. The choices we make in life will determine where we end and how we end. So it is up to us. But the beginning of the journey, everybody starts on the same platform and on the same line.
It's kind of the example where someone's talking about a red car,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden on the road you start noticing red cars.
Yes.
So if you have a positive or negative,
Indeed.
that's what you
Because emotions are very powerful. They are very strong magnet. And this is one thing with the negative emotions. Negative emotions have no power over you unless you choose to react to them.
Okay.
And negative thoughts have no power over you unless you choose to react to them with your emotions. So watch out your thoughts. The minute you begin to entertain a negative thought, it activates a negative emotion. If you allow yourself to activate a negative emotions, you're finished.
So handle it.
Make a barrier between a thought and an emotion. Create a barrier. That's why when you have a mediator who come to mediate between the two, that person has not been engaged in the differences emotionally. And when he or she is mediating between the two, he is engaging intellectually, not at an emotional level. The other two have been sucked in with emotions.
Yes.
And that's why he or she is able to make a better judgment. So anytime you disconnect emotions, you can make a better judgment. And anytime you engage emotions, potentially you can be sucked into that problem. And that's why the Prophet of Islam, when he was asked by one companion, when he came to the Prophet of Islam sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, guide me, counsel me, غضني. And he told him, لا تغضب. Do not become angry. He said, zidni, give me more counsel. Counsel me more. He said, لا تغضب. He said, give me more. He says, لا تغضب. Do not get angry, do not get angry, do not get angry. Because the minute you get angry, you block logic. Logic is out of window. And that's why when we told you when people get angry, is that you need to change your posture.
Okay.
Change your posture. If you're standing, sit. If you're sitting, lie in bed. If you're not, go out. Do something to distract yourself from
Those emotions.
getting to that vicious circle of thoughts and engaging negative emotions. So in Islam, there are many things that we can do to stop getting into anger. One of them is making the ablution, another one is remembering Allah, another one is seeking seek refuge with Allah from the devil and for the negative thoughts and from the self, the destructive self. All of that can support to protect one getting into that direction. Or even go and pray, because the time of prayer, one gets into the meditation mode, you allow the mind to slow down and to calm down without interruptions. And at that moment, as you pray, you're in the state of submission, you're in the state of surrender, you're in the state of tranquil, and as a result you allow your mind to slow down. Excuse me. And as your mind slows down, you are buying time. And by buying time, you allow your emotions also to settle and to calm down.
Reminder callers, you can call us in at the numbers 24602058. That's 24602058. The other number is 24694315. That's 24694315. So Sheikh Affan, how should it be handled when you're in a public place with others around you and your anger is triggered?
Yes. many things can be done.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not a Muslim, begin to count from 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And if you still have problems, count again from 1 to 10.
Okay.
And then begin to count again 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, keep
so
on
it's
counting.
distracting.
It's distracting.
Okay.
Move out of that place.
Mm-hmm.
Go and make a call. Go and buy and drink some refreshments.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the toilet and wash your face.
Mm-hmm.
Do something. But don't sit there and wait for something else to happen. It won't happen. Speak to someone. Do whatever. And if you're a Muslim, then begin to praise the name of Allah.
Okay.
Begin to seek forgiveness. Begin to seek guidance in a prayer. Go and make the ablution or do something.
We have a call, Sheikh Alfan.
Okay?
Assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
Hello? You're live on the air. Assalamu
Yes.
alaikum.
My name is, I am Prakasham here.
Prakasham?
Yes.
Hello, how are you?
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Yes, I would like to participate in a question and answer session.
Yes, go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead. Yes. Hello?
Yes, go ahead. You can ask your question.
Hello.
Yes?
Yeah. My question is that people in the world, you know, some of the belief system, maybe in Islam or other religions, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, the law of karma, based on law of karma, this one, how law of karma is applied to, you know, a new baby.
You're not clear. You are not.
So you can see that they're suffering and they're admitted in the hospital, and sometimes, you know, you can see with a lot of tubings in the hospital, they suffer a lot.
You are not
So-
clear. Prakash.
Whatever we do,
Prakash. You're not clear. Please don't speak through the speaker. Pick your phone and call us directly, because
Okay.
it's not clear. You're in the car. It's not clear. Don't use the speaker. Pick the phone and speak to us directly.
yeah, okay.
Yes.
Hello.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Prakasham, your question?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Don't use a microphone. Just use direct phone
And turn the
I
radio.
for now.
and turn the radio
Yes.
down.
Yeah, okay, now you're okay?
Now it's clear.
Better. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just want to know about the law of karma, you know?
Karma.
Yeah, the karma philosophy, you know, the whatever we do, we get it, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what our life is based on. If we do good, the seed is good, so we get the good fruit of that.
Yes.
So if you can see a newborn baby, you
Yes.
know, like sometimes they suffer. We can see in the hospitals, but they have not started doing any actions at all. But on what basis they get the fruit for that, or how they are suffering actually? How to get rid of that?
Okay. Good question. Yeah, good question, Prakash.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Prakasham.
question.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it's a topic outside the discussion, but nevertheless, maybe we can answer it. Karma is equivalent to qada wa qadar. It's about fate and destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And indeed, a lot of believers, be it Muslims, be it Hindus, the Buddhists, and including Christianity and Judaism, they have the concept of qada wa qadar, but it has been misunderstood. There are two words, qada wa qadar, fate and destination.
Okay.
Almighty Allah decrees something to happen, and He commands us to go and do it. It does not mean that what He commands we will go and do, because He has also, as mankind, He has given us the free will.
To choose.
The free will to choose.
Okay.
And it is based on our free will that He holds us accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the first thing we need to do. We need to differentiate between what God tells us to do and what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And what He says that you as a human being, you are also two parts. There is one part that I am in control of, and there is another part that you human beings are in control of. In Arabic we use the word musayyar or mukhayyar.
Mm-hmm.
Musayyar is where you are controlled, where you are driven, where you are led by the Supreme Intelligence, Supreme Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty God. As an example, starting from the chromosomes, to you parents, to the way your body biologically functions. You have no control of your heart or your lungs or your kidney. You have no control of your liver. You have no control of the blood circulation. You have no control of how food is transformed in your stomach into different types of energy and nutritions, etc., etc. All of that is controlled by who? By the one who created the body, by Almighty Allah. And then we are told the bit that we have the free will, it is in the forefront of our cortex, forefront of our brain. Yeah, it is just in front of the forehead. It's just there.
Okay.
It is an actual, a very small space of the brain that we have control of. And that is the conscious mind, the conscious. The conscious mind is the only thing that we control of. It is the bit that makes decisions. So based on our decisions, we are going to be judged. And we're going to be either rewarded with goodness, or we're going to be penalized with punishment for making the wrong decisions. Now, being fair, Almighty Allah does not penalize us, does not hold us accountable without first letting us know what is right from wrong. So everybody first will have the ability to distinguish between what is right and wrong, and to know exactly that this is right and this is wrong. And once they know that, the decision they make becomes their responsibility and accountability. So that is the mistake people make. I am responsible for my decisions and my choices and my action.
Yes.
And God is responsible for the bit that I have no control over. So He will not ask me, why does your heart beat? He will not ask me, why do you belong to this family? He will not ask me, why did you come from this race? It's the things I didn't have control of. But He will ask me of the things that I have control of, and I can make the decision. So that is one part of explaining the karma.
Okay.
We every day are setting our destination, and we embark on our destination that will lead us to our destiny. However, through infinite wisdom and knowledge of Allah, He already knows the future. And He knows this person, given these opportunities, will make these types of decisions and will lead to this type of route. So He knows the future. It's just like a film director. A film director knows exactly how the movie is going to end before the movie starts. Whereas the viewers who are watching a movie don't know the end. And they go with the journey and they go with the flow, etc. And only they come to know the end when the movie is finished.
Okay.
Yeah? And that is how it works. So God, Allah knows what the future, but He does not declare, He does not say, I'm going to make you do this. It is based on your decisions that you embark on your journey. Just like a teacher, after 3 months of teaching a class, will know who is going to be number one in the class, who is going to be at the border and who's going to fail. Not because the teacher knows the future, because he has seen the behavior and the trend tells him this is what's going to happen.
So fate is then something that God already knows.
Yes.
And destiny, God gave us a choice.
Yes.
To shape
our destiny.
Choices.
Yes.
Okay.
And because he already knows the future, it has already been determined.
Yes.
We can choose to make it different, but we don't know. We don't know the future. We don't know what's going to be my end. Today I can make a choice to make it better or make it worse.
Yeah.
So that is one part of the question. The other part of the question is that why do we have innocent people who suffer? Why do we have children who are born with difficulties and others? Many reasons. One of them is that Almighty Allah wants us to appreciate what is the gift of health. Sometimes we don't see it until we see someone who is sick and ill. Through difficulties we get to learn how to get out of it.
Okay.
If we had no difficulties as a human being, we would stop from developing. So only when we are challenged, when we are set with a calamity, that we try to make things better. So having diseases having diseases is one way of allowing us to go and discover medicine and discover the cure of that illness. It forces us to go and search for something. For the need is the mother of invention. Yeah. If
So it
there's
could
no
be a
need,
drive for good.
indeed. If there's no need, there won't be invention. So sometimes maybe one person becomes sick, but then medicine is discovered as a vaccine to protect millions.
Okay.
Then that child didn't die out of vain. He or she or that baby died to save millions. But we can continue to talk more about it.
Yes, we'll take a break and we'll be back.
with Sheikh Al-Fadl Aisri on Let's Connect.
On the authority of Abi Ayyub al-Ansari, may Allah be blessed with him, who said, the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, it is sinful for a person to ignore his brother for more than 3 days. The best of them is he who takes an initiative and pays salutation. Bukhari and Muslim.
with Sheikh Al-Fadl Aisri on Let's Connect.
Welcome back to your Ramadan radio program, Let's Connect. So Sheikh Afan, you were answering the second part of the question.
Yes, about babies getting sick and they haven't done anything wrong.
Yes.
We mentioned already one, and that could be that because of that one child or one person becoming sick, a medicine is discovered that's going to save many millions. The other times, and this is something I have noticed myself and experienced myself in many occasions. Sometimes having a sick child at home,
We have a call, Sheikh Afan, then we'll continue.
inshallah, having a sick child at home brings the family bond further closer.
Okay.
They may have their difficulties suddenly because they have a sick child at home. They put the differences aside, and because of that baby or that child, the family ties become better, and they put differences aside, and the bond becomes stronger, and now they're there to support each other with affection and mercy that we were talking about yesterday.
So it can actually bring love into the family.
Indeed,
Things
it's a mercy.
outside of it.
It is a mercy more than it is a punishment or a pain.
Yes. Alhamdulillah. We have a call. Assalamu alaikum.
يا عليكم السلام أحمد. يا السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
Salam, Ahmed.
يا أحمد الحارثي. يا.
حيا مرحبا شيخ أحمد.
Just I want to add one point regarding the issues that we are discussing about why people are getting sick and why there were some wars in this world, some people don't get food and so on.
Yes.
And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is As-Salam. One of His names is As-Salam.
Yes.
An example of this is as a doctor. Actually, a doctor, when he operates somebody,
Can you
he is
put?
opening somebody's body.
Yes.
So when he opens, if somebody take a knife and cut your skin,
Yes.
he's doing something wrong to your body. But why he's doing that one? He's doing that one to take something bad from your body. So if you have an appendix,
Yes.
he will make an operation in order to cure you from appendices. But all of your life, you will remain with the wound that you have been operated.
Yes.
So we cannot say a doctor is a bad person. He did that one in order to cure you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sometimes He gives us diseases in order for us to remember that we are weak and He is powerful.
Yes.
So we always need to go back to Him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at the same time, He gives us diseases not because He wants to punish us. He gives us diseases in order sometimes to protect us from something might happen to us which is very bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
With
For example, one day you might planning a journey to go somewhere, and you get headache, and then you sleep, you don't go. But if you, after half an hour, you will hear the same road which you wanted to go, there has been a very big accident, and a lot of people died and passed away. Yeah.
Yes.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is salam. So when we in this life see this type of diseases and everything, as Sheikh Al-Fan mentioned, it's not because he wants to punish us, because he wants us to be very close to him in order in the life of hereafter to go to the paradise and enjoy the life in paradise, and not us to be in the hellfire, whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he likes most of us to be in the paradise, but we the ones who to choose. Inna hadaynahu sabila, imma shakiran wa imma kafura. So I wanted to add this point to this program, and I really have a request, if possible. There's one guy day before yesterday requested that these programs to be recorded in CDs and be distributed. I think that is a good idea.
Barakallah
so, shukran, salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum
Shukran,
salam.
Ahmed. Thank you.
Barakallah fiqh. Shukran, Brother Ahmed, for the... Indeed, yes. Almighty Allah says in the Quran, عسى أن تكرهوا شيئا وهو خير لكم وعسى أن تحبوا شيئا وهو شر لكم والله يعلم وأنتم لا تعلمون. There could be a time when you hate something but it's good for you, and there are times you like something but it's not good for you, and only Allah knows and you don't know.
That is infinite wisdom.
That's in His infinite wisdom. It may appear that things are wrong, but indeed maybe things are going to get better in the future, or there is a good reason for them to happen that way, that we are short-sighted, we don't see beyond that.
Yes.
So indeed, yes, fully concur to what you have said, Brother Ahmed. And as of recording, I believe that you can access all the episodes from the past, and maybe Reem can give you the address. It is both available in the YouTube as well as in the Facebook.
Yeah. It's facebook.com/321connect. That's the number 3, number 2, number 1, and the word connect. CONNECT. So you'll find the episodes there as well.
Inshallah.
Yes, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So thank you, Prakashan, for that question as well. Triggered a very important element.
Indeed, yeah.
Sheikh, I would like to touch upon the relationship with neighbors. And you said the neighbor before your home.
Yes.
Why is that?
The reason behind it is that with neighbors in Islam, in actual fact, a neighbor is not only your immediate neighbor. It is 40 houses, 40 neighbors on all directions. So north, south, east, west. It's meant to be 40 neighbors.
So it's like a small community.
It's like a small community. And then if it is 40 neighbors from me, if I go to the 20th neighbor, he will have 40. So there will be another. If you go to the other neighbor who's on the 20, he'll have 40. So that way, number one, the community bond becomes together strong. And we know exactly how our neighbors are living. Not that in their private lives, but on their financial status, on the emotional status, and we can tell whether they have a comfortable living, or they are suffering, or they have difficulties, or they have sick people in the house, or they have problems, calamities, disasters, and challenges in life. Or they are also celebrating, and that's why in Islam our homes are meant to be open for visitors and guests to come in.
Okay.
So that is number one. And number two is that the Prophet of Islam said, Wallahi la yu'min. Wallahi la yu'min, Wallahi la yu'min. By the name of Allah, he is not a believer. By the name of Allah, he is not a believer. By the name of Allah, he is not a believer. The companion said, who is that? Who is not a believer? Man bata shab'an wa jaruhu ja'i. If he goes to sleep and his neighbor is hungry. In another one it says, Man la yu'minu jarahu bawa'iqah. Man la yu'minu jaruhu bawa'iqah. If the neighbor does not have trust, or does not believe that the neighbor is going to hurt them. In other words, if they feel threatened by the neighbor, then that neighbor is not a neighbor.
Okay.
One has to feel secure,
Safety.
and comfortable and safe that they have that type of a neighbor. So in other words, then we are the influence of our neighbors, and we need to make sure that we are the protectors of our neighbors. So that is among the things that are important to the neighbors. And that's why sometimes a neighbor before your home. In other words, there is even a saying with the Prophet that if you cook something and the smell of whatever you cook goes out of the home and reaches, because of the wind, reaches to your neighbor, you are obliged to give them from what you have cooked.
To share it.
And another one is that when you bring home groceries, Yeah? And you don't want to share with your neighbor because it's not enough, make sure you hide it. Lest that a child of your neighbor may see it and may desire it.
So being conscious of
your neighbor. When you build a home, you ought not to go and build a house that goes up to an extent that it covers your neighbor and it intrudes to his privacy without his permission. So you can see the power of the neighbor.
Yes.
Why is it all of that? Because it is a community. It is a community that bonds together. Unfortunately, with the modernity of life, people have become independent, and being independent, they also became disconnected from neighbors.
We might even not know who's our next neighbor.
In villages, I remember villages, you never see a compound wall locked. It's always open. And anybody can walk in from the neighbors. Children would walk in freely to the homes and come and play and go about. Today you don't see that. Today people are afraid of the neighbors. So unfortunately, because we have left the values and the principles and the teachings of Islam with regard to neighbors, and that's why we are in the mess that we're in today.
Yeah, it reminds me of an interesting story of a friend who baked cookies and wanted to share it with their neighbors, but she was received strangely, because then a bit suspicious, who's bringing us these cookies? So you try to do good actions, but sometimes
it becomes suspicious because it's no longer the norm. In the old days, it was the norm to share. So you'll see that every house would cook little and share, and because the other neighbors also cooking little and share, suddenly you have a big, you have a full buffet because of everybody cooking something. When they have a reason to celebrate, the first people they invite are the neighbors. Today, no. When you have a reason to celebrate, you go far away to a club, we go to a hotel, or we go abroad to go and celebrate. Why we don't want to celebrate with anybody else? Yeah. Very sad, very sad.
But I believe we can still take the initiative.
It's never too late. It's never too late. Yes. And we need to begin to embed those values again into our children.
Yes.
And that's why the mosque in every community plays that role. We get to see our neighbors in the mosque, and from the mosque we can begin to interact and begin to invite each other. Yes.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Alfan. With that, we come to the end of our show today. We remind our listeners, if you want to tune into the other episodes and learnings, you can go to the Facebook page, 321 Connect. From all of us here, this is your host, Rima Udia, with the Honorable Sheikh Alfan Al-Ithri and the sound engineer, Zahra Al-Kindi.